afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Propagandacast with me, your host, Imperial Dane, a master of propaganda. We're off here to an exciting 1 vs 1 on Eindhoven country here between Nomafans fighting for the Soviet Union, for Comrade Stalin, and the 10th Tank Corps going here versus Quirin, fighting for the Wehrmacht, for the Reich, for the beleaguered 1st Panzer Division, elements of which have been caught here in a pocket somewhere in Eastern Europe and are trying to break free of the steel grasp of the Soviet army. We got motor, shot rifle and shot motor there versus Luftwaffe supply, Bestung armor and mobile defense guns on the way. We got conscripts and plenty around there for Nomafans already. Going straight here and wiring off a bit here to make it a bit hard to approach the cut-off point from the angle. First one is got a run, got an immediate one following up here for Quirin, so both sides starting off with a bit of infantry. Further wire there. Alright, need to of course connect territory, otherwise that's going to be of minimal use here for Quirin. Noting here by the way, Nomafans spreading up, we got continuing eastwards, whereas the Union heading here towards the viewpoint in the west. Further wire going up here in this case to deny cover, it seems here. To deny cover. Second grenadier squad they're arriving. Third contact squad on the way for Nomafans. Nothing else so far to really report. Troops advancing there with a rifle in hand. Continue wiring off here to basically try and deny cover to the enemy. Rather thorough with that, rather thorough. Right, Yusuf, you need to make sure the Russians won't run off with any of this stuff. Any of it. All of it? All of it. So there we go, very, very thorough wire job right there from Quirin. Got 3rd Grenadier out. Constantly rushing for the build. I mean, that regard we are seeing initially due to the way he's sort of initially playing, though he is continuing with a territory there. 2 Nomafans, which then of course allows himself to sort of grab a lot more territory with that. 4th conscript there on the way. Need to sort of perhaps sneak up some troops here. Need to be careful of the flanks, otherwise we've got the conscript basically making it very difficult for Quirin to move in the area here. Blocking movement, need to sort of focus on troops on the ground. We've got Cops coming up here, right into the line of 5 civil grenadiers. Course of court running here from south as well, and there got quick Ura, though Yuri finds that Ura is not quite enough to sort of avoid a bullet. Same time, Pine's getting here for the munitions over to draw forces away. And more to help behind it, they've got an MD42 on the way. Rushing up here, could try and get close when we get here behind the well for a bit of heavy cover, and that way some they shoot away at. So right here, Quirin seems to be making a bit of a grave mistake. He's running out front of the broadside of the house where there's 5 conscripts that fire away, then runs over here, shoot at the where there's no windows. That's I suppose a great idea, but he needs to remember the other guys here, which can still shoot right into his back. There we go. Quirin realizes, of course, he has made a slight boo-boo there, and of course quickly focuses down the conscripts. Langs up to afterwards deal with the conscripts out of the building there. Then more, of course, arrive, and of course in that case he's exposed. Conscript wiped. There's a small victory here for Quirin. Small victory. He's going to have to pull back here quickly enough because otherwise when the concept is going to tear him apart and he's going to lose grenadiers needlessly. 1 MD40 arrives, using it to take points here instead of supporting his grenadiers around here. Pioneers back at base, need to reinforce. 2nd MD42, so 3 grenadiers, 2 MD42s more go against the grenadiers, forcing them away as well. Overall, I did well for conscript, he wasn't able to gain much progress there, much territory. And MD42 needs to be careful that he's rushing out basically with no infantry screen or nothing to cover or spot for it, which rather could put this MD42 in a lot of trouble. And we got an immediate trusted doctrine for Quirin, or almost immediate. We got Luftwaffe supply actually dropping in air medical supplies here for his troops. Quickly heal them up. That is definitely one way of doing it, a bit rarer to see. But there you go, and the Luftwaffe are certainly used to having to supply troops caught in pockets and the likes, cut off, or in some cases have to support Panzer Division if they're moving through the mud to relieve some other unit or during an attack because basically they couldn't get supplies through all the thick mud they usually encounter on the eastern front. There you go again, building occupied. In this case, still apart, we say Quirin should actually try to work around, and there we go, losing the fuel point there, moving up there, but you shouldn't get too focused on the building here. Shows that it's got a bit of a pinch of position, but at the same time, if he gets too focused on, of course, it does give opponent more time to work with him and basically sort of take other territory as well. So it's a bit of a risky proposition here for Quirin to sort of keep up the job there. There go consequence weight, few on there. Shock rifle chosen for Nomafans, so there might be shock troops there running for him. And there you go, the Anfat on the way. Quirin could consider taking up or getting a mortar to help these deal with the building. Otherwise, a flamethrower would also be a good choice. Guns moving up here. MT-42 going to blast away. The other MT-42 basically covering the flank here instead of maybe trying to assist. Looks like there we go, Molotov again. Point there being secured. We're going for the munitions as well. Not an attempt, by the way, to secure a victory point so far for Quirin. He's so far more or less ignored that entirely. And there he goes, shifting up the conscript, and basically it's taking too long for him to sort of clear out the building. And he can just sort of switch out this. Basically keeps Quirin sort of pinned down to a certain extent here. I mean, he really needs to sort of adapt his tactics a bit more around. There we go, though. There is a mortar on the way. I got nothing there for. And he really should shift one MT-42 to attack. He's set to cover the fuel point here, and you know, try to defend it and get a bloody victory point. The Chucks are still rushing forward, going to go for that fuel point again. He's pretty much got nothing to defend it. The MT-42 is still here, not really doing much. Really needs to be a bit more careful with that. But it's holding up in heavy cover. We got Chucks moving up. DP-841's in the hands. There go quick grenade here, flushing up the grenadiers from their cover. That's going to force retreat, and there we go. Mortar moving up here for Quirin. Nomafans will continue to apply pressure. We've got no buildings going up here though. Just infantry so far in the field. Not even an field infirmary, just Molotovs have been researched. Fuel point being taken away again. He's actually setting up the pioneers there on the far west.
Our territory is falling into enemy hands.
Got the mortar setting up there for another assault around here. Only 3 conscripts out the building. But he needs to sort of quickly push back. He needs to sort of gain the fuel point again rapidly. And holding up, they can't get it out in the open. Fence there proved to be a small salvation there. Just the conscripts don't well do in this case. They got caught next to cover. Lots of fire. The grenadiers moving up there with the medical supply there in hand. Lots of mortars there was aimed for. That took quite a bit of munitions there on that one. MT-42. And that could actually be a bit much there, if anything, for Nomafans, and a bit of waste of munitions actually. There he goes, he's got an advance going. And there's not much here though that Nomafans can do to slow it down now. The building's finally left. He could set up an MT-42 in it. Chocks is moving up though, needs an MT-42 to cover, but again, he's either using it to take territory, or they're not there yet to actually sort of support his troops and cover versus, say, shock troopers. So in that regard, you know, Quirin needs to be a bit more careful. At the same time, pushing off the fuel point. One option here would actually be laying on some S-mines, because there's no mines for Nomafans that could certainly help cover up that fuel point just a bit. Continue to mortify here though. No kills, and again, more or less no fuel for Quirin. Grenadiers reinforcing. Nego pushed off. Sand again, no S-mines, really would have served quite nicely in slowing down any advance. MT-42 sending up here to cover that spot, but no real flank coverage. And again, so far, Quirin really hasn't been paying attention to the victory points. I mean, you can to a certain extent get away with it for some time, but you can end up hurting yourself in the long run if the game carries on for too long, or other reason, in which case you know you've lost. So it's something you have to be a bit careful about. I mean, you could at least secure one of them, but again, Quirin has been a bit too focused in the building, a bit too focused, also a bit side of anything else. Conscious there pushed back. Troops moving ahead here. Fix some light machine guns back be handed out there. No like to make a nice company. Mines going up here. Good job there, by the way. By Nomafans, certainly good spots there for mining. It could certainly hurt and bleed Quirin quite a bit. MT-42 not sitting up in the building, by the way. Grenadiers need to get on the victory point. Looks like he misclicked, but has been quite paying attention.
Taking fucking fire!
And the MT-42 are moving on its own. Again, be careful about sending out its own. You can use sort of secure territory after you sort of advance maybe a step to the front line. There's some there, use it to that, but otherwise, I mean, he could have been very unlucky and lost there in some way or the other. I mean, he would run into a mine or something like that, so a bit risky there. Mine from the of course, now for Quirin, of course, he's spotted the mine with his men being blown apart. Shock was basically holding that area again. No MT-42 to maybe support there. The other one, in fact, rushed away from here for whatever reason. I'm guessing that might have been a misclick, but at least he's finally getting one victory point, though that took him almost 10 minutes, which I would say is a bit too much.
Man down!
Good grenade there. Ooh, good hit, Victory to the Grenadier. So far, nothing further here from the base of Nomafans. He's actually floating quite a bit of manpower and fuel there. Good taking there, could actually do a lot for him. And Quirin needs to really gain fuel and victory points.
Well done,
M4 moving up there. Ready to support again. He's rather focused on the centre, but he's forgetting about the flanks, the sides, and more importantly, the fuel. Another attempt in this case now failed. More or less ruined here by the Grenadiers and the MD-42. Got another push here towards the right-hand side. Shots securing the point there. No further take-up from Quirin. Not even a sign of a lag to make a nice company. West Nomafans is going for support armour Campania. Push here towards the west. Grenadiers with machine guns and some without. And again, then aggressively pushing up here. I mean, it's a nice idea. The problem is he's basically sort of running in three directions without no sort of real, how should one say it, focus. And again, I mean, he could maybe risk getting enveloped or cut off. So it's not without its danger, particularly the MD-42 sort of support with pretty much only guards from this point, but again there's enemies operating around here. In this case it looks like Quirin's getting a bit lucky though. We're able to push back the contras there. The MD-42 might actually get a whack there on the low health, low number squad there. So small progress here, small progress. But again there's everybody, much the risk here. Of course the armour will be arriving from Nomafans quickly, because in that regard he's been able to control the fuel point for much longer than Quirin. So there's a lot of dangers here for him at the moment, and he's actually taking up here. He's actually taking up, and of course with Luftwaffe supply course, and you can make up for it with a supply drop only around the fuel point. MD-42 they're pushed away. I mean, if you're going to use it aggressively, be sure to shift it around from time to time to ensure your opponent can't easily flank it. There we go though, fuel is being dropped, MD-42 there, Grenadiers, and going for the victory point up there. Finally, he really should have done that much sooner, instead of constantly pushing for this munitions point. There you go, flamethrowers flanking in, mortar crew a bit exposed. Bit exposed, but demandly. Taking soon down there, fuel being handed out, naturally again. So to a certain extent, making up for that, all the fuel is actually not guarding in one rather swift go.
Infantry shooting at us.
Still, one thing to note here about Quirin, he is seriously overextending. I mean, he's everywhere. There's overall not really any focus point in that, to a certain extent. Can make him easily a victim here for a good push up through the centre, and then maybe sort of dealing with elements here and there. Good off, Nick! Damn, that was close. But right now, fuel cache, in fact, we got two, oh not fuel cache, but two supply drops here. That's a lot of fuel. In fact, that's 100 fuel within minutes. He's gotten access to his promo core. I would say he should build that and get out and Austrian as soon as possible as some Panzer IV. I mean, right now, he has a chance to quickly rush out some armour versus Nomafans. That could actually do a lot of good there for Quirin and actually giving quite the advantage. Wait, was there only one supply drop? So did I count wrong? Oh well, either way, he's got a bunch of fuel. And again, right now, it's a promo code good. But no, he's actually taking onwards. He's going for tier 4. At the same time, those opponents building up there for armour, tank battalion command going up, and that's actually going to make a tier 4 rush rather risky. I mean, if T-70 comes up there, he could actually solve a lot. And there you go, got another fuel supply drop here for Quirin. The Luftwaffe is clearly doing his best here to ensure the 1st Panzer Division, caught, or at least part of it caught here, is not going to get by without any fuel. But still, this I think is a bit too risky. He should have gone for tier 3 again. He could have rushed out a flak Panzer, maybe some Panzer IVs afterwards, or something like that, and done a lot more harm to his opponent. I mean, this risks putting a bit too much time in between and leaving him much more open. Are we getting fuel there?
The hard part will be keeping it.
And I'm not sure then why he's moving away the Pioneers. He should be keeping them in the base to quickly get that support corps or heavy Panzer corps up as soon as possible. Instead, he's moving it away. In fact, he's got the fuel right now to get it up, and then shortly after, get a Panther out, which would really be good. But again, he's moving away the Pioneers now, pretty much ensuring that's not going to happen as soon as possible, which is not what I'd call very efficient. At least he's still got most of the map. You got him for still in the position here, though. Bit on its own. You got Pioneers going up the right flank, though. Can't score right. We have seen Nomafans suffering some losses here to the amount of firepower, though, that Quirin can level against him, which is nice to see. Veterans one there for the MD-42. Incendiary rounds might be a good choice, maybe not. I think a full retreat here, though, was a bit excessive. Then it is moving up to counter the Russian assault here from Nomafans and the 10th Tank Corps, tasked with clearing out the pocket full of Germans. T-70 there on the way for him. And of course, in that regard, Quirin is very much exposed. He's got no anti-tank hands, and again, he's playing for the heavy Panzer Corps. But again, no, where are the Pioneers? not on the base, setting up the heavy Panzer Corps to getting out of a Panther, and sit there taking territory. I mean, that regard, there's a bit of a disconnect there, I think, or a massive flaw in his strategy, if you will. Either way, it's definitely not good. And this could actually give a good opening here for Nomafans to quickly turn things back in his favour with the T-70. He's actually taken quite a few losses by now. Quite a few losses, and the T-70, of course, versus Grenadier support crews and pretty much only Panzerfaust to deal with, could actually give him quite an advantage. Or at least allow him to regain one. Pioneers basically continue to run around, take territory. He's not really done much of a run the victory points either. Can't within the pretty bad actually wipe there if he's not careful. T-70 engineers advancing here, small assault. And there, go quick engaging the Deutsches positioning, fleeing for engineers moving up there. Grenadiers staying in a rather bad position out in the open there. There's the T-70's 45mm gun. Shots fired. Grenadiers sent running. Pioneers there pushed off the field. And they're going to send the armor piercing rounds. Used. Good. Shock troopers there could actually suffer some losses. Of course, it pretty much allows them to ignore the body armor of the shock troopers, which actually makes it very good there for counting them. Which is something a lot of people surprised don't seem to know or act on anyway. 74-2 though cleared out though by a very potent Molotov. Now that's rather unfortunate. The other M42 is not really doing too well either, going through that big bit of work. Pioneers finally made it back, but really, he could have had a Panther out, not by now, but close to soon by now. Instead, it's going to be notably further delayed. Now this is getting wiped out, needs to retreat, and there you go, wiped out. Now we're seeing Quirin here sort of thrown into a bit of chaos, a bit of disorder here by the arrival of the T-70's mistake of being committed. And again, heavy Panzer Corps, which could have been much sooner, is now notably delayed. And again, he could probably at this stage more or less had a Panther out. If he, of course, maybe in short-term units didn't get reinforced, he would have Panther out much sooner to counter that T-70, of course, provide a larger threat here to the infantry. But that's no longer the case.
What do you want? We are ready to build it or blow it.
Still getting some kills on the shock troopers. Fuel point here cut off, about to get lost.
Yes, comrade.
He's getting a Sturmpanzer IV. Yeah. I'm not going to say necessarily a Sturmpanzer IV rush is bad. Well, it is in a sense. I mean, in particular considering what he's up against. In fact, it's time here for the mid-game analysis, so let's sort of finish off that thought. But basically, rushing for tier 4, fair enough, but you need some anti-tank gun to work with. The problem is he's got no anti-tank. He's basically just relying on the Sturmpanzer IV. That's incredibly risky. At this point, he should probably be away. He's going off against shock rifle. He's got a lot of fuel. Even with the T-70, that's not going to delay an eyes to him much further. And even then, the Sturmpanzer IV is not the best counter for the T-70. It's going to work with the infantry, but not the T-70. In theory, he could even just get a T-34 to just out, easily outflank the Sturmpanzer IV and knock it out. So in that regard, going for the Sturmpanzer IV is not what I describe as the best idea. Not without Pack 40s or something else sort of properly supported, or Panzer Grenadiers with Panzer Schrecks. So this is a, for me, poor decision. You should have gone for a Panther first, then could always have followed up with a Sturmpanzer IV and then help deal with the infantry with the Panther and sort of deal with any armour. Also applying a bit of pressure with his machine guns instead. He's going for the Sturmpanzer IV first, and he's going to leave himself very weak to any armour at that point, which is again is not good. So some definite problems there for Quirin. But again, overall for Quirin right now, you need to focus on maintaining a better fuel supply, and overall be a bit more focused. He has like tend to sort of get a bit, well, all over the place and not really too focused, which is a bit dangerous for him. A fuel cache may sort of help up a important point would also be good. But again, scrap the Sturmpanzer IV for the time being, get out of the Panther, hunt down the T-70, apply pressure versus enemy infantry otherwise, get out of Sturmpanzer, then support it, or maybe a second Panther in case the IS-2 proves a bit too much. I mean, that could work out reasonably well there for Quirin. Also, maybe consider setting up some munitions to prepare for some incendiary bombing runs to help clear out some of the infantry from time to time, and maybe force away a support position. That could work out well there. For Nomafans, keep the T-70 alive. I'd save up for an IS-2 at this point, though of course a fuel cache might sort of aid things a bit further. Once the IS-2 up, maybe support it with a half just for the infantry, or maybe some regular armour. Just that way, build up a bit of a mix there to sort of help versus Quirin. Focus more on the flanks, focus more on the sides, keep pressing around the victory points, which is also something, by the way, Quirin needs to focus more on, but basically keep up the victory point bleed there versus him. That could easily be something that could prove quite vital there for Nomafans. Otherwise, let's return to this fight. The Sturmpanzer 4 had been left behind there, and has been put together here by some plucky mechanics.
You need engineers? You need fire support?
Grenadiers reporting.
Of course, doesn't help here for Quirin that he handed a 1 MG42 there to Nomafans. Now engineers pushed away, he almost finished the mine there. That wouldn't have mattered due to the minesweeper. MG42 needs some up support here, I would say. But it's holding up. There we go. T7 there we go. Sturmpanzer arrives. Sturmpanzerwagen 4, also known as the Stupa. Based on a need during the fighting in Stalingrad for something that could sort of move out and clear up buildings and other fortified positions in an urban terrain. There was something before that was basically a Stub with a Schweres Infanteriegeschütz on it, which actually looked very similar, but still wasn't quite the same. Sort of based for sort of clearing up the buildings. They pretty much only fought in Stalingrad and were mostly lost. The Sturmpanzer 4 was sort of more of an actual design, whereas the other one was sort of more of a improvised job on the matter. Hits the mine there, rather than the engine there. Shot fired, slightly damages Yuri. Doesn't do any sort of serious damage. So we got the T-70 running back. Obviously, probably going to be near the Sturmpanzer, which of course is going to need some serious repairs rather schnell. At least he's reacting quickly to it. T-70 running back. He's taking a bit of a hit, but managed to survive. Should try and push a bit more aggressively here, but of course the MG4 is pretty much going to sort of prevent any assault there. Mortar rounds going down though, good, good. Otherwise, if all else fails, lay down a smoke screen, then move up, rifle grenaded, then take the point. And of course, the final variant of that older son, of course, is the Sturm Tiger with its very, very, very large rocket. No attempted at rifle grenade, but I mean, they're really clustered up. I mean, they're practically begging for it. Obviously not begging for it, but they're practically inviting it. But there you go. Nasty hit there, mortar fire going down in the conscripts. He's going to find a way, and they're gaining veteran to 1. Sturmpanzer 4 moving ahead. And it is pushed away. Mortar fire going down. And go hit against the shock troopers. Rolling in here, needs to be careful though. And they've got shot fired. Conscript's almost wiped there. Sturmpanzer is now unleashed against the Verdammt Russen. There you go, Mortar in a bit of trouble. Wipes the entire thing in one hit, but they go Conscript's flanking up there. He's got no infantry, nothing even covering the flanks. They're going to tank when he goes off. Damages the engine rather quickly here, but fires a shot. Shoots too far though, shoots too far. We got eyes through there ramming though for Nomafans. Quirin doesn't quite have the resource to get up Panther. He's close, he is close. He's going to need a Panther up pretty damn quickly, and of course he's keeping control of the fuel pump again. There's been no real effort again. He's capped the MG42. Not fucks on, moved it back here again to keep it supported and covered. And of course the Sturmpanzer is going to need some repairs. Schnell. Getting some hits there. Kind of is moving up, but they got the eyes through this, aiming down on them. Kind of is in a pretty bad position there. Got shot fired. Half the squad, one wiped out. The other guys need to get away. They're quickly Panther off, and the T-70 Sturmpanzer rolling back. Panther almost there. Panther almost there. Got manpower floating. Shot failed to make an impression on the eyes. Two eyes through. They failed to penetrate the 100mm frontal armor there on the Sturmpanzer. But it is good. Try and Panther across the rear of the eyes too. There we go. There we go. The Sturmpanzer's almost knocked out. The mortar needs to get away. And there you go, Panther finding the way here for Quirin, but he's probably going to lose the Sturmpanzer here. Smoke's being laid down, but it seems too late, he turned the barrels down. Chaos ensues. Pioneer's back to the crisp, and he's basically losing territory here. Big 2 points while all now in the control here of Nomafans. Mortar crew pushed away. And he's basically waiting for the Panther now. And meanwhile, the R2's pulling back here. Enjoying the scenery as a part of the force, they burst into flames. And also some screams from maybe counted out from in the wreckage of the Sturmpanzer. Got a T-70 holding about up there. Conducting repairs. Getting more grenadiers here for Quirin. Not say more pioneers or something else. Another MG42. But needs to quickly gain back, and particularly the fuel point. He needs to make a better effort towards that.
You need indirect fire?
The Panther has arrived from the
There we go, Panzer Kampfwagen 5 mobilized. Rolling ahead. Rather slow for it to regain the fuel point. There's moving towards the centre, coming out of the IC. Got an MG42, conscript engineers moving up. Got several engineers involved to speed up the repairs there on the IS-2. That is good, that is good. T7 moving here, they're damaged. Some losses they inflicted upon Quirin. Lacking any sort of serious effort to deal with the T-70, exposing his men to quite a bit of fire there from it. Quick round grenade. Whoa! Wiped the conscript with one round grenade. That was a surprisingly good shot. And so they come inside, they're coming, starting the shock troop. There you go. Panther going here to deal with the T-70. Finally, it's something going right there, but again, he should have had a Panther up first thing. He would have easily dealt with the T-70. He could have easily dealt with it. There you go, T-70 knocked out. More pioneers on the way, good, good, but he needs to grab more territory, he needs to make a stronger effort right now on the victory point. Of course, his are quite low there compared to Nomafans. That's not really something you can keep up much longer. Pat, me would also say, consider maybe grabbing that mortar, adding it to the other one, creating a bit of a light artillery battery there.
Pioneers ready for assignment.
Also, get that fuel point back, build up more fuel. Perhaps not through more supply drops, but, you know. More fuel will be needed, more armor will be needed. Of course, another option might be right now, in fact, probably the safe one, is to actually go for a light mechanized company, get out of Pack 40, to lose that way, provide some extra anti-tank support here versus the Soviet heavy armor, since obviously the fuel income at the moment is going to be too slow to really build up anything serious quickly enough. Versus the Pack 40 is going to be a swifter solution here.
We have 100 points remaining.
Comes the stop of the MG42, but it's not trying from somewhere up Panzer faster. There you go, Panzer's pushed away. Quick flank here from the Panther, going around here, might be able to get it off. Good hit there, MG42 moving up, Panzer's moving up, engineers standing back. We're in there, oh no, poor choice here by him, he ignored the constant there, allowing it to get hit down by an anti-tank grenade. Putting there, not paying too much attention, they've got dual there, going a bit good for the Panther. IS-2 down to half health, Molotov gets going to inside the building, M4 setting up support. Almost veteran to one. You need to get both pioneers working on that Panther. Otherwise, get fuel points back. He's got one over there. That is moving up there to sort of try and harass the fuel there. At the same time, getting the munitions.
Ready.
Field gun on the way there for Nomafans. For Quirin, we do have a like to make a nice company. He's just shot on the manpower. There we go. Got it. Get it. Get it. On repairing the Panther, so Panzer Kampfwagen 5. Looking rather harsh here. I mean, he's still got a Panther and such, but it's been a rather larger series of unfortunate decisions here for Quirin, and again, a lack of focus around just holding one fuel point for any longer amount of time. And even then, when he sort of had to focus that, he was just to call in the supply drops, then basically ignored it again afterwards. Which has actually allowed his opponent to get a lot of fuel. I mean, that's another reason at the very least, even if you don't have any specific plan for owning a fuel point for a longer period of time, at least do it to deny your opponent fuel. I mean, that's just as vital. And that seems to be here what sort of Quirin did not factor in. In that regard, you know, had he controlled them better, he could have denied his opponent quite a bit of fuel at this stage. Instead, Nomafans actually getting close to getting another IS-2. And another thing to consider is, I mean, had Quirin also done better, he could have still had maybe a Panther and a Sturm Panther, two Panthers out, in which case that IS-2 would have been rather dead. At this point, the fight could all have been in one hit for Quirin. Shots fired, conscious on the ground there, Panther shooting. Veteran to one, by the way. Morton is moving up in this bloody melee. Smoke and dirt being thrown into the air. Rather leaving his infantry a bit much out in the open. They need to flank about. They need to flank about. Interesting enough, the Eyes 2 is ignoring the Panther though, allowing the Panther several free shots there. Pack 40 joining in here right now. Oh, gonna do this wipe. Again, don't move your infantry out in the open around a tank. Particularly not a heavy tank like the Eyes 2, that's pretty just begging to have your infantry murdered. They're coming ahead, their field gun. Finally going to support the Eyes 2, which is actually quite a bit scrapped up. Grabbing the mortar there might be an idea. And otherwise focusing on the victory points again, maintaining a strong presence here. At the very least, at this point, he should consider bunker just to keep this area a bit safer. Shots there bouncing off on the Panther, not really quite there on the Eyes 2, which is actually being forced back here. CoH2 finally going to get into the building. Bit of a shootout here. Quickly falling out though. And no attempt at clearing up the field gun with this gun. He's actually ignoring it. Well, you know, he's going to cut off the fuel there from his opponents. I suppose that's a small victory there. Panther moving up. There you go, good hit from the field gun, penetrating the 80mm of sloped armour.
Enemy contact!
And Shocks was there flanking. Nothing here to cover, by the way. No response in the MG42, not even turning about there. Panther set being rolled in. There we go. Still might want to pull back elements. He did turn the MG42 to the shock troopers. Still opening up there, constantly from the front. Infantry nowhere near to support. Instead, he's sending all these infantry up on the flanks now instead of in the centre. More or less, nothing to support the main force and keep his support weapons at least a bit screened there. That is definitely not too good handling there by Quirin. Again, a sort of bit unfortunate mistake there. Can I just bring that back? Eyes 2 still being repaired. Pendulum machine gun is shooting a fine around here for the Panther, which will help there versus the infantry. Could have helped him much more earlier on. Infantry here stopping the moving back to the rest of the force. 54 points left here for Quirin. Nomafans can use some pressure onwards. Shocks was taking also there to the Panther. Gonna just need to take the points. Looks like Quirin not quite paying attention here. Too much going on for him. He's basically overextending his attention way too far. The Panther and Pack opening up the Eyes 2. Eyes 2 almost knocked out here by the Panthers. It's exposed. Scheisse. Almost victory 2 though. Almost victory 2. But the question is, will he actually be able to sort of matter? Panzerfaust failed to penetrate. He's taking loss. Eyes 2 rolling back there. Almost 52. Just like the Panther. Panther rolled forward straight to the line of fire. The field gun. Blitzkrieg. Got lucky there. The shot hit the ground instead. Mortifier continues to rain down here in the Russians. Oh, the Germans, the Russians obviously don't have an mortar left because they haven't bothered accruing it.
The enemy is down to 25 points.
Clearly trying to do too much here. I think the problem for Quirin in this fight is basically ambition. He's way too ambitious. I mean, some ambition is good, but the problem is his ambition does not really measure anywhere near his skills at the moment. He's basically trying to do more than he can actually. And to an extent that's not bad, pressuring yourself, so challenging yourself. The problem is when you take it too far. Which is basically what's happening here, I think.
Waiting for your command.
Panther, Daniel repairs, got signals through their line from the Nomafans. Bashing through the remaining German lines here. Smoke's been here, not a bad idea, just feels a bit too late, almost 53. And there got Quirin in the end surrenders, having lost the fight. The pocket is crushed, so there we go. In some regards, from the Russian perspective, rather, standard, fair, nothing interesting, although it was close to sort of crumbling several times due to our Quirin plate. But again, the basic problem here came from Quirin in how he played again, way too much ambition. He was basically trying to pull off a tier 1 to tier 4 rush. That's not to say it can't happen, but it's much more dependent on actually controlling the opponent's access to fuel as well, and that's the problem. He didn't. In fact, he had a hard time in controlling one fuel point for himself, which rather undermined it heavily. Also, lack of control of their victory points certainly not helped Quirin out either. And that was basically the problem. He was again trying to grab too much territory. There's not really a focus around just wanting to hold something. I mean, that's really important for the Wehrmacht. Find a spot to at least sort of try and hold, try to find a round, and then sort of, move onwards from them, but still always some points should be important. He was too focused on the centre at several times there, which is basically a red herring, again, not fuel. So in that regard, there was some mistakes of Quirin again. He could have worked, but again, he should have either gone for tier 3, the Suprema Corps, rushed out the flak panzer, then followed up with Panzer Force. That could have worked. Or he should have gone for Panther and Sturmpanzer to Panthers. That could also work. Instead, he went for Sturmpanzer 4 first, with the anti-tank supported. Hit a lot of mines, by the way, because, you know, he'd forgotten about the mines, which rather hurt him as well there. Lost a lot of time, which could have been very valuable smashing up infantry. And even then, there was some slight chance there for Quirin to get back, but again, he was basically too unfocused. He was all over the place. Again, a lack of severe focus there basically undermined Quirin quite severely. Also lack of flanking, and again, a lack of just defending the bloody fuel point. So again, I mean, overall, too much ambition from Quirin. And again, there was some really nice, interesting stuff there, but again, keep it a bit more in focus, a bit more in check. Otherwise, he could have beaten Nomafans quite solidly, actually. I mean, that could have easily punished Nomafans for his play. But again, too eager, too much ambition. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. There's nothing wrong in challenging yourself or trying to go for big things, but you got to make sure you can, at least to a certain extent, actually pull it off. And the problem for Quirin was he couldn't. So again. And also for rushing with that, using Luftwaffe supplies is also a good idea, but keep in mind other factors rather than just what you want, but also how much fuel your opponent is getting. Again, in this case, the Bomber Corps would have been the better choice. Or 2 Panthers. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this match. I hope you learned something from it. I really hope it gave some ideas how to play the game, how not to. Again, I think in that regard, this match does have some interesting lessons, and again, some ideas which could prove, well, you know, good for some players if they sort of actually catch the point here. And, you know, if not, you know, send me some feedback in the comment section. Otherwise, feel free to share with everyone. In fact, do share. The more that views this, the better. And, of course, you can do your bit of help there in that regard. So, anyway, thank you for watching, and see you all tomorrow. Bye.